Yeah, thanks everyone for joining today's session. Hope my screen is visible to everyone, right? Can
Yes,
everyone?
sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
fine. So till now we covered the basics of Python. Okay. So today we are going to cover some more advanced of the Python. If anyone have any questions till now, whatever the topics we covered, so we can take them first and then we can move further, because from today onward I am going to cover the OOPS concept in Python. What are classes, what are objects, and what are the different OOPS concept. So before we progress there, any questions till now whatever we covered? Okay, then I would take it now. So agenda for today learning is to cover the OOPS concept. What are the class and object? What are the properties and methods type? And then in the end we will do the hands-on lab. Okay, 1 second. So can anybody tell me what is OOPS? Anybody know the full form of OOP?
Object oriented process.
Object
Object
oriented
oriented
programming.
programming.
Okay.
Sorry, my bad.
So when we are saying object oriented programming, basically to derive this concept of object oriented programming, okay, so we are organizing our code into classes and object. Okay, just a second. Yes, so we are organizing our code into classes and object. So why we need it? Why we need the OOPS? Because it helps to structure our programs in a clean, reusable and scalable way. When I'm saying clean, so clean in the sense it is right in a very good format that every can read it. It's not like that. You need to understand, okay, where is what written. Okay, reusable. Everyone know that what is the meaning of reusable, right? If you want to use this particular code block in some other area also, suppose in this area also, then we are saying reusable. And scalable. Scalable means suppose already if particular class having some features, suppose it is doing some addition, it is doing some multiplication, right? If I want to add some extra feature to it, say division, right? So suppose I have a mathematics class, it already have add and multiply, then I want to add a new feature to it, so division. So it means we can scale it easily. So to achieve this concept, because whenever we are developing a software, right, so the first ask is that it should be scalable. If in future someone want to enhance something, it should be easily scalable. Okay, so that's the reason behind OOPS concept. We are using this. Okay, fine. So how we are doing achieving this OOPS concept? We are achieving this via use of classes, object, attributes and methods. These are the high level things. So what is class? Class is a blueprint for creating objects. So when we are saying blueprint, right, suppose whatever I am writing here, whatever, suppose I write one mathematics class, inside that I write some add method, multiply method, subtract method, right? So it is just telling that this is a blueprint. It is not used until someone is creating the object of this class and accessing it, or the methods inside this are class method or static methods. Okay, so that's the way we are saying that it's a blueprint. Until you are not actually doing it or calling it, it is of no use. Okay, so object, what is an object? Object is an instance of class. So when I am saying an instance of class, suppose you created this math class. To access it, right, I need to create something like obj equal to math class. Then this object obj is an instance of this class, because to access any features whatever exist inside this mathematics class can be only accessed by this instance of this. So you need to create a child kind of a thing. In layman language, to access some properties, okay, you need to create some child of it. Okay, he can only communicate to this class. Okay, but don't go in child way, but it's kind of an instance to access any class methods. So this is the way to create one instance obj equal to this one. So what are attributes? Attributes are variable inside a class which are representing the data. If I am saying add, right? So what add will do? It will add only two numbers, right? Number 1 and number 2. If I want to add this. So this variables or whatever we created inside the class which are representing the data, right? Because this numbers only will contain the data. Suppose I am passing 10 here, I am passing 20 here, right? I am assigning that data to these variables only. So whatever the variable inside a class which are representing the data are called the attributes. Okay. Methods are same thing. Functions inside a class, okay, representing the action. So here in this case, the mathematics class, this add is a method. Why I am saying function here and methods here? Because once I will try to call this function by using some object, then what we are saying that then it is a method, because to access the methods we need an object of a particular class, but within this class until no one is using it, so then it's a function created in a class. So by definition, methods are the function inside a class which are representing the action. Fine. Before I move to next slide, any question on the class, object, attributes and method? Okay, then I will take it in now. So next, so whenever we are creating one class, right? So to initialize its object attributes, whatever we just talked about the attributes earlier, so we have a constructor. And how the constructor is written in the Python? It is written with the underscore init and underscore. It is starting like underscore init and underscore like this. Okay. So this is the way how we are creating a constructor in a class. So what is the use of the constructor? So basically, if you want to initialize some data, okay, initialize some object attributes. I created some attributes number 1 and number 2. Okay, these are my two attributes, right, within my class, but I want to assign the data, whatever the data I pass to this via add method, right? In the add method I passed a comma b. How this a and b will get assigned to this? Okay, so that is the job of the constructor. I am assigning a and b here, and finally it is returning me sum of num1 plus num2. Okay, so that is the job of the constructor. So these below 4 things, okay, are the concept of OOPS, main concept of OOPS. I am just going through the definition here. Just we will discuss them in the details when we will cover each and every topic. Fine. So what is encapsulation? Encapsulation is the way to hide its internal detail by providing controlled access. If I am saying that I don't want to allow this particular number 1 to be accessed from outside of my class, only object of my class can be accessed, or if someone is inheriting me, he can only access it, other classes cannot access it. So that is the way we want to restrict the attributes or methods of a class by assigning some private, protected and public. By default everything is public, okay, keyword, but the good thing here is in the Python here, we don't have any private, public or protected keywords. So encapsulation is achieved in Python using the syntax. If you want to create one public attributes, you will simply say num. If you want to say that this attribute is protected, then you will add one underscore instead of this. If it's a private, then you will add 2 underscore to the variable name or the method name. So 1 for protected, 2 for private, and nothing if you are adding to an attribute name, then it's by default public. So this is the way we are going to cover it, but at high level I am telling you. So we don't have any such keyword in Python. The way we are declaring the variable, the syntax of the variable creation is defining what kind of variable it is created. Okay. So you saw here also, right? This method, initialization and constructor method. This is a private method of this class itself. It is starting with this init, okay, double underscore. Fine. Next is the inheritance. Inheritance is a concept, right? Keep passing the properties from one class to another, okay. Suppose I have a class, right? So which have a method or property, say engine, right? And I also want to create another class, okay, which want to inherit this particular thing, okay. It's a kind of a parent and child relationship. A child usually is inheriting its parent, okay. It's a parent, it's a child, okay, inheriting the attributes of its parent class. So that is the concept. We are going to cover it in more detail, but at high level I'm again just telling it. When we will cover, we should know this, what it is. Inheritance is passing property from one class to another, or the methods, right? Next is the polymorphism. Polymorphism stands for polymorphism means more than one form. If the same method name performing different tasks, then we are calling it as a polymorphism. If I am saying that I have a add method, just one second, let me erase it a bit. If we talk about one add method, right? If it is used for the integer, what it will do? It will do the addition of these two variables, right? But if add is used in the term of a string, right? What it is doing? It is doing the concatenation of the strings, right? So that is the concept of polymorphism. The same method name performing different tasks. Fine. What is abstraction? Abstraction is the hiding the complex implementation and showing only necessary part. Okay. So I don't want to show my each detailed complexity to my child class or whoever is trying to inherit me. I only want to expose a particular set of data. That is it's also a concept of showing limited set of part data to my child class or whatever the class which is trying to use this. And in how this Python this abstraction is achieved, to achieve the abstractions we have a ABC package which we need to use to define one class as a abstractions. Okay, ABC is the package. So any question on this before I will move further at high level? Yeah, we will cover them in detail, but definition wise we should know what is the use of each concept here.
We are good so far.
Thank you. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, sorry, I just got one call. Okay. So what are the syntax? Okay, because each language have their own syntax, right? How to write a class and how to create an object of a class, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what is class? Class, as we already discussed, it's defining the state, the attribute, whatever the attribute we are using, and behavior, whatever the methods we are using. Okay. Attributes having the data, because the data is describing the state, and behavior are the methods, whatever the features we are adding to it. An object is created from a class, right? So to create one class, we need to use the keyword class. This is a keyword. Okay.
Okay.
Then
and
we are
do we need to
yes?
declare public, private, protected?
No, you don't need to declare.
Okay, so
By
what
default,
if I need to? Okay.
I told you, right? By default, this class is public, right?
Okay.
How you will use this? I tell the word underscore, double underscore, right? Underscore
Okay, I
for
thought, yeah,
protected,
got it.
and this one
Protected,
for the private. Double underscore is
private.
for the private.
I thought those were meant for variable only.
No,
But
no.
okay.
Okay. So now, what is the way to write the constructor? This is the way. Constructor is a method, right? Nothing more than that. And we already, functions within the class. So we already discussed how we are writing one function. We are starting with the def keyword, right? Then we are using the def keyword. Then this is the syntax for this. The good thing is in this you need to explicitly define the object to this. Another, whatever the object I am creating, that we need to define here. Okay, so the constructor is saying that whatever the object you are creating, that is passing me as a parameter, and then are my further attributes. So self is the instance, whatever the object you are creating, right? If I am creating C here, then C automatically comes here. I don't need to pass okay, but C will automatically comes here. So in the constructor you need to pass this explicitly. Okay, runs when you create an instance of this. If I am creating an instance of this particular code will run as soon as I wrote some line C equal to class name like this. So this method will get executed because that is the job of the constructor, and within this, whatever you want to do, whatever the data I passed, I want to assign to this particular object data, and then I am doing some operation to this. Okay, this is the way to declare a constructor. This is the way how to initialize the attributes. Okay, and this is the method how you are creating a new method or functions in a class, like def keyword, the function name. And here also, if I am not passing any parameter to this, right, so then it is straightforward, but it will contains the object, and then print this. Okay, I am just only doing the print from this because these are already set up in the constructor itself. I don't need to specifically pass here, right? But if I don't want to set them in the constructor, then it's a separate thing. I can pass here and I can reuse it from within this method.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the way how we are creating a base class, Python class, and an object of a class, right? Yes.
Like, if you could you go into the deep, like why we need to pass that object itself as a parameter in the constructor? Like what is the mean, like, and why that this keyword, like, or doesn't need to pass in any other programming language? Why C has, Java we don't need to pass? Just in case, like, if
No, so basically Python is not implicitly implementing all the concept here. Okay,
okay,
oops concept, because is a very straightforward language. Okay, so you need to
okay,
say explicitly here. So it's if I'm doing the same thing in the Java also, right, then it is taking this object automatically. This is also taking automatically. I'm not
yeah,
passing this object here, you saw here what you are doing here.
yes,
But in the constructor, because you need to do this, otherwise you will not be able to access this parameter anywhere. The object, if
okay,
I'm creating this method here, how I will access this parameter? Because I set up to this particular thing, right? So at the constructor level itself, we are creating one object, whatever the explicit object, that I can use anywhere in this method, right? This
okay,
object is treating this because it is holding the state of this variable.
okay,
So that is the reason for this, it is saying explicit. Otherwise
okay,
you will not be able to maintain the stage of that. Maybe in the background other languages, whatever we are writing, so they are doing this thing in the background and we are not aware of that. Okay.
okay.
Sir,
Yes.
I have one question.
Yes, Suraj.
Diff some method is a member of class name or not? It's example.
What do you mean by member of class name?
Some method, a
Uh-huh.
method of class name or not?
Yes. Yes, this is the method of this class name.
Okay.
This is the method of this class name. That's the reason ki whatever the object is using, it is using the same object and it can do its job. It is a yeah, maybe I place it here for just, it's a dummy thing, I am placing it here. I did not write the
Yeah.
correct syntax, otherwise it should be tab 4 character inside it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You catch the right point here, because it is at this level, it should also exist at this level. Okay, this
Yeah.
word
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
from here. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
it is the method of this class name only. Yeah, that's while I write it, maybe at that time I did not notice this it is not spacing, okay, because here it will not give me any error, right? If I have wrote this in the
Yeah.
Jupyter notebook, then it should
Yeah,
throw me
yeah.
the error.
But last line is C equal to class name.
Yes.
What is this mean? It's calling class
It's
or
creating,
method.
I am creating an object of this particular class. C is my object name. I am creating, this is my
Okay.
class name. Class name, I am creating object of this, and in the constructor I am passing those two parameters.
Okay.
And these two parameter value got assigned to this object, whatever the object I created, and from there within this method I am using those parameters here to print it.
Oh,
One
okay.
more thing, like
Yes.
you told that in that any other language, if we create that a constructor of private type, then we can't create the object of that class outside the class. Is it same applicable here, or like because you already declared a constructor of underscore underscore int, which means it's private?
No. Sorry. Yeah, I think there is some confusion here. When I am saying underscore underscore with this method is a some different kind of methods. They have a special magic methods. They call it as a magic methods in Python. Okay.
Okay.
When I add this, because it's not only in the starting, it is in the end also, right? This does not mean that this is a private constructor.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Okay.
this line cannot be executed. I will never be able to create the object of this. This is the
Yeah, that is
way.
what I
Yeah,
thought.
we are writing this in the Python.
Okay.
Okay. I will cover this later. Okay. Ki what are these methods?
Okay.
Okay. This kind of methods.
Mm.
We call them as magic methods. There is another
Okay.
term used for that. Okay. Random methods or something like that. Okay. So now I am going to the instance versus class variable, right? So there can be two kind of variables in a class, which are some variable are associated to a class and some variable are associated to the instance, right?
Okay.
So when I am saying that the class variable are defined directly within the class. If I am creating a class A, B, C, okay, here itself I am declaring variable A, okay, and I said
Okay.
that its value is 0. I declared variable B, its value is 0. Fine. So
Okay.
these are class variable. And when I am saying class attributes are shared by, so the second thing is this, once I am creating this class variable or class attribute, they are accessible via all the instances. If I created one instance A equal to ABC and I created another instance B equal to ABC, right? So this A can also access this particular thing, right? Let me say A1, A2, okay. So this A1 can also access these two instance variable, sorry, class variable, and this B1 can also access this class variable. So basically,
Okay.
whenever we are creating variable at the class level, it means we are exposing it to each and every instance of that class. Okay. So that I am trying to tell, if I am creating A1 object, it will also able to access it. B1 object, it will also able to access it.
Okay, means
So
class variable are equal to the static variable in C hash. In C hash, we can have the static
yeah, read
variable,
only your
which can
static variables, right?
static variable.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
So next is the class variable and class attributes. Okay, so basically a variable is itself is called attributes. Okay, it's nothing. Don't confuse between these two words here. Okay, so once
Okay.
something it start assigning some data, it automatically makes the attribute. Otherwise, it's just a declaration. It's just a variable. Okay, instance variable are defined within the method of a class. So if I created one method here, okay, add method. Within that method, I created another variable, say C equal to A plus B, right? I am saying return C. So this particular method, right? So this can be only associated to that particular instance. Okay. And if this C variable, if I am creating, I cannot use for the another. Okay. If I created another object of this, I cannot access this C. If I created within this method of a class. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, just a confusion here. Okay. Instance live on each instance attributes live on each object self dot x. Okay, whatever the object it is using, it is associated to that. If I am passing the object here, it can be used there, and if I am passing the object there, it can be used here. But the data cannot be shared. Okay, we will cover this example also there. If C is returning me 10 here, because I am adding 5 plus 5, 10, right? And if I am creating another object here which is saying 3 plus 2, right? So it is not going to get you 10. It is going to give you 5 here, right? Because this is associated to that particular instance, and this is associated to this particular instance. This is associated to A instance, this is associated to B instance. So it is associated to each object. But if I am talking about the class variable, so here also if I will call it via A, it will give me the same value. If I am calling via B, it will give me the same value, right? Because they are class variable.
Okay.
They are global.
Okay. Okay.
So next is the properties, right? What are Python properties? Python properties provide a mechanism for controlled access to class attributes. So when I am saying controlled access to class attributes, what it means? How we are controlling it, right? I can create one attribute, suppose A. I am saying that this variable is read only. You cannot assign any value to this. Okay, if I will try to assign some value to this A equal to 0, it is going to throw me error, because I am saying that this attribute is only read only. Read only I am just telling in some layman language, but actually how we are achieving this in the Python, that's a separate thing. So in controlled access, you can read it, you can set the data, and you can read and write both operation. You can get and set both, right? So get means
Okay.
read. So you can do both. And if you want, you can also restrict the data. If I am trying to set some data to a variable, right? A equal to 15 or say minus 15. I can restrict it that A cannot take the value of negative integer. I can write something logic there. If A will try to assign negative value, it will throw me exception. Okay, it will give me the exception. So in this manner, by use of the properties, we can control the access of the class attributes. Okay. So just focus here, class attributes. Class attributes means which are accessible to everything. Whatever we just covered, we discussed two things: class attribute and instance attribute. Here we are talking about the class attributes. Fine.
Yeah. Okay. So
yes.
this topic we are talking about that how to give the access so that the attribute can't be changed by unauthorized user. Is
Yes,
it something like that?
Yeah, right. So I'm restricting it because there are some properties which class having some values, right? If I am saying that start means start, if I am starting one engine of a class, so I am saying that this start is the keyword or start engine. If no one should be able to change this property, right? Start will do the job of start only, right? If I will change this property to stop, then it will stop it. So in some scenarios, we don't want to change the actual value of a variable because that variable value is going to be used across the systems, right? So for that purpose, we are defining those properties as a getter only. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So what we are doing here, we are using the @ property keyword. This is a keyword we need to use to expose attribute while keeping validation or control. Okay. If I am not doing anything, I am not adding this thing. Okay. I am simply saying this particular thing. Then it is by default getter and setter both. Okay. Anyone can do anything on this. Okay. If you only want to set the getter, you will use the @ property decorator on that particular attributes. If you want to use the setter, then you need to use the @ keyword, then you need to define the name, and then you need to use, after that you need to say .setter. Then it will allow to set the value. So this is the syntax basically. We will cover it once we will do the hands-on lab. What are the syntax of how to create one getter variable and how to attributes and how to create a setter attributes. Fine. So setter attributes, as I mentioned here, this also, right? If I want to write some validate some data, negative values are not allowed. If I want to do some calculation, or I want to create only read only attributes, right? So those are the main purpose of this getter and setter. If I only want to create a read only, no one should be able to set any value, then I will create this getter, right, with this @ property attributes. If I want to validate the data or whatever the data we are setting it, so in that we can use this particular things. Okay, basically we are trying to encapsulate the internal implementation of this thing using this particular attributes @ property or @ name.setter. So this is the way we are controlling the access for getter and setter in the Python. Okay, so there is another thing here, methods type. So till now we were discussing about that within a class, right? If I'm creating simply one method, define, add, right, and which is returning
Okay.
a plus, suppose this is taking a and b two parameter and return a plus b, right? So this is a method which is by default a instance method. Okay, so you are simply creating this default m self, this works as on the instances, but some case you want to create the static method also of the class, which can be, and static methods are basically some utility functions which we are creating, which can be directly called with the class name. Okay, and when
Yeah.
once I am saying a static method, because there we don't need any instance,
Object
so
of the class.
yes, so they will not have any first argument. You are not going to pass any this self object here, right? So it is, this is the syntax for this, and in the front of that you need to use this @ static method decorator. Okay, you need to use this keyword there. Sorry, not decorator. Decorate is usually add on the top, it is add in the front of that. Okay, this keyword we need to use to create one method. So it cannot be accessed by instance. Okay, it cannot access instance or class state. So we cannot access the instance from this particular method. If I created one object, that I cannot access it. There is another type of which is called the class method. Okay, what are the job of the class methods? The jobs, so here I said that I cannot access instance or class state. I cannot change this anything because I cannot access this within the static method, right? I can just only do some operation and it will do that job, but I cannot change it. But with this class method we can access and modify the class variable also. There are some scenarios where we may need to use it, but the syntax of this is here class CLS, here this will get the class automatically when I am creating this class method. So it will automatically consider that class object here. Yes, I am calling it via class. This CLS is a class here, like that we created the self for the instance, right? Same way we can create CLS keyword, start with the CLS keyword. Okay, they don't have access to instance variable unless an instance is explicitly passed as an argument. Okay, they also cannot access it, but if I will say here self also, then I can access it within the class method. There is a provision, if I want to access it, the self instance variable also I can do it, but that is explicitly need to be do. Okay, so I am saying it is a class method, but it can be called on both the class or instance. There is no such restrictions there, strict rule that you cannot call in on the instance. It can be called on the instance also. Okay, and what is the use of that? Their main use is of the factory methods. Okay, whenever we are creating some factory methods, which we will cover further while we will work on this, right? Encapsulation and the polymorphism later. Okay, then we will cover this. So that is the use of this. Fine. So these are the different methods type in this. Okay, so anyone have any questions on this before we will move to some practical hands-on? Okay, fine. Sorry. First I will explain you some code written here and then we will start with our things. Okay, so as I mentioned here, what is the syntax to create a class? We need to use the class keyword. Then we are defining the class name. Let me go here also parallelly. Just give me 1 second in the background. Just a second.
Anil, can we
Yes.
take that practical example tomorrow?
Sure. Yeah, we can take that tomorrow. That's fine. Okay,
You
so
know,
what we will do,
to
I will
mm,
just walk through you guys, okay, for 2-3
yep.
minutes, and then we can take this example tomorrow. So to create a class, we are using the keyword class, then we are giving the class name, and for constructor, as I mentioned, underscore in it, and here we are passing this object, self, brand and model. Suppose I want to set this two variables, right, brand and model, that I assign to this object here. Then this is a method which is returning me the brand and model of this. So this method is getting called. So I created simply this object. This is the way to create the object, right, car, and it is
Okay.
the constructor is taking two parameter. I pass the two parameter and then I'm calling this show method,
Okay.
right? So this is the straightforward way to create one class. And now we will talk about the instance versus class attribute. So once I created one variable at the root level here, right, at the class level, then it is a class attributes.
Class
And when I
attribute.
write one methods within a methods, then this is the instance variable. So
Okay.
this variable, right, is set up at the class, but still I can access it anywhere if I want to use it. Okay. Suppose what I
Okay.
did, I am creating one object of this class and I created the another object of this class. So A can have also access to the model and B also have access to the model, because this is a class
Also,
variable. But
and both will return SUV,
yeah,
correct?
both will return SUV. Here it is returning SUV Maruti. Here it is returning SUV Hyundai. So these are
Okay.
the instance and class variable. Okay.
And how
Yes.
about it? Here we can see the brand.
Yes.
But I can't see the brand variable has been declared anywhere in the class. So is it like that
No. No.
self-explanatory,
No.
like as
No.
many as variable we
The,
will use that?
man. So what you are doing here? This is the
Hmm.
constructor. Within the constructor, you are passing the brand.
Yeah, but next to
Yes.
that, we
Yes.
are writing self dot brand
Yes.
if you.
Yes. This
So
is the
means
instance.
that
This is the
this,
instance attribute. You are setting
but
it. If I will not do it, if I, let me comment this. Fine.
no. Wait a minute.
Uh-huh.
Wait a minute. My only question is we haven't declared the variable brand anywhere, so that Python will auto assume. Like if
Oh,
I'm writing self dot car and assigning some value to that, then it automatically assume that okay, uh, that this okay. Could you press the enter and write one more statement next to that?
okay. Sure.
Next to that line, yeah, in that yeah, in that way.
Mm-hmm.
No, you okay, self dot
Mm-hmm.
let's say factory is equal to uh, India, let's say, just for example,
Yes.
we are not
So
passing.
so what you are doing
And
here now?
could you
Yeah,
write that
I will
print
go
in
there.
the
I am just telling here. So what we are doing here, we assigned this particular variable to this object, and we are saying India here. Now you are asking me to write this
right,
a dot factory here,
yeah,
right?
a dot factory,
Or
yes,
B dot factory, anything,
you can write anything because
right?
in both the way, yeah.
Yes, yes,
Could you execute that?
yes. I executed it. It's
That is what
it's set up this variable, right? Instead of this, I can say any name. It will not matter at all, because this is the variable I created it, and I am accessing it via this.
So, okay, unlike that
Mm-hmm.
Java and C Sharp,
Mm-hmm.
we need to declare the variable factory, brand one or brand in the class property, and then we can initialize that. So I'm saying that in Python, it will auto assume that if I write anything self dot I wrote something, then it will auto assume that this is a property, a attribute of a instant.
Yeah, that I am saying, that is the benefit of the Python. Okay, it is
Okay.
saving a lot while you are writing the code also. If you need to write this code within another language, you have to write a lot of lines of code for this. Okay.
Okay. Okay, that was my question.
Okay. So same way, method type, instance, class method, and static method. So when I am saying instance, so this is straightforward, whatever we just discussed earlier, right? whatever the method specific to that particular instance, like this, I created one object of this counter class and I want to fetch this. So this is an example of the instance method. I am not using any keyword or something. This is straightforward instance method. When I am saying the class method, right? So I am using this decorator here. This is a class method, right?
Okay.
So this
Okay.
method can be accessed from the object also, and this method can be accessed from this also. So these are the syntax I am just showing you guys how we are doing it. Okay. Same way, if I am saying static method, I am using the static method decorator here.
Okay.
So property control access, as I mentioned, we will use this decorator property here, right? So this is a getter. It will only give the data. Okay.
Okay.
And here if I use this, it underscore, it means it's a protected. Okay. So only, and here I said the setter, but you just see here, first we discuss the name and then we are saying the setter. This property we are making it as a setter. Okay, this whatever this property name you are setting here, the same thing you need to use here, and then after that you need to use dot setter. This is the syntax to create one setter variable. Okay, fine. So other things we will not cover here. So we discussed up to this extent only. Fine. So tomorrow we will do more hands-on on this, and then we will jump to our next chapters. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining today's session. I am closing this.